Hey guys, it's Laura, and in this video, we are going to be talking about PA outlines. Yeah, okay. So, PA outlines. First, we're just going to do some general info about intros and conclusions because they're kind of the same for both infos and OOs or oratories. So for introductions, there's kind of a lot that you need to include in your introduction. First is your AGD or attention getting device. And this is what you're going to start your speech off with. This is something that's usually funny, although it can be also dramatic. You really just want it to be like a shock factor. And that'll typically be like 3 sentences at the very beginning of your speech. And then you'll have a sentence that's like a link from your AGD to your topic. So you want your AGD to have some connection to your topic, but it can be a little bit loosely connected. And then your link is where you will draw that connection and go get a little bit more serious and go into your topic. So then your topic defined is that doesn't necessarily mean like a dictionary definition. It just means like you're going to clearly state what your topic is, because the last thing you want is to get like 6 minutes into your speech and then someone's like, oh, this is what they're talking about. So you really just want to, as soon as you can, define what exactly it is that you're talking about. And then you'll do your thesis statement, which is different from an English thesis statement. So in a PA speech, your thesis statement is your claim and why. So it's not necessarily like what you're talking about. That's going to be your roadmap. But your thesis statement is, so you give your topic and then what you're saying about your topic and why. That's your thesis statement. So then your scope magnitude is where you'll relate it to your audience. So you might be talking about, I don't know, like cancer or something. And so your scope magnitude is kind of where you're saying why your audience should care, because your topic might not necessarily, you want to have like a universal topic, but it might not necessarily be like readily makes sense or connect to everyone. So that's where you want to draw that connection. And this can either be numerical or categorical. So numerical would be like a statistic, and categorical would be like a group of people. So like women, something like that. So a like set group of people. But not too, you don't want to narrow it down too much because you do want it to still have some relatability to everyone. Then your roadmap is more of like what your traditional English thesis statement is. This is your 3 main points simplified. So I kind of like the analogy of roadmap because it's very like, I kind of think of it as like if you're planning a road trip, for example, it's kind of like the route that you're taking. So you're just laying out for your audience where you're going in the speech and what you're going to talk about. Not getting too specific because it's going to be for your points, but just very simplified version of what we're talking about, just so everyone knows exactly what is happening in your speech. And then finish off with your walkaway line, which is kind of like a mic drop. This can either be an impact line, so kind of another, like something dramatic to kind of leave everyone off of, or it can be another joke or something funny. And then here where I put the 2 stars, so topic defined, thesis statement, and scope magnitude, are good places to include a source. So you typically want 1 to 2 sources in your intro. And then conclusions, they're very short, usually 3 sentences, so don't worry too much about them. You'll basically want to have like an impact line or joke at the very beginning of your conclusion, which ideally it would tie back into your AGD in some way. Then you'll review your roadmap. So it's kind of like you get to the end of your destination, and then you're looking back at your speech and saying, telling your audience like what you guys talked about today, just so they kind of have it refreshed right before you end your speech. And then another mic drop moment, which can either be a joke or impact line, but this is like the last thing you say, so you want it to be good. And then main thing, keep it short. So then, what the heck is a roadmap? I kind of talked about it a little bit, but it's in your intro and it lays out the foundation for your speech. So again, kind of like you're planning the route of where you're going to go, what you're going to talk about. Which is, yeah, what that sentence is. And then this is a little bit more advanced, so you don't need to focus on this now. But roadmaps typically contain some like cheesy connections to your topic. This will make more sense once you start watching speeches, but I did put a little example from my OO this year, where they're not necessarily jokes because they're not like funny really, but it's just kind of like a cheesy connection. Everyone's like, ah, that's cute, you know? But yeah, that comes later, so don't worry about that now. Okay, now we're going to talk about the info specific outlines. There are two. The first is thing, assertion, implication, and obviously introduction and conclusion. So thing is like your topic kind of expanded. So this can also be like the history of your topic, how it got to where it is now. And then assertion is like what you're saying about your topic. This would kind of like expand on your thesis of like, what is your claim about your topic? What is happening that's important. And then implication is like going a little bit into the future, like what is going to happen from, like based on thing and assertion, what is going to happen going forward in the future. Then option B is past, present, and future. And I kind of see them very similarly, although I guess assertion is a little bit different from present. But past is, you know, how was this in the past? Then present, how is it now? Future, how is it going to be in the future? What is going to happen because of it in the future, etc. Then OO outlines, there are three. The first is cause, effect, solution, which is pretty self-explanatory. The only thing here to note is that you'll usually give two solutions, and this is for each of these OO outlines. The first is usually world-based, although you don't want it to be, like it still needs to be personal, like to a personal level, but it's kind of like what can the individual do to contribute to a greater change. And then solution two will be even more personalized. So like, what can the person do as soon as they walk out of this room by themselves without having to like put too much energy into it? You know, it's very like something that they can do all by themselves. Option B, problem, cause, solution. So it's kind of the difference between option A and B is where cause is located. And it really just depends on your emotional arc and what would better fit the research you've done, what stories you have. So yeah. Then here's option C, which I just put special here because I don't think you see it as often. And it is, I think, a little bit more difficult, but it might work for you. So don't be afraid of it. And this is just more emotion based. So this one is problem, effect, solution. And in this one, the problems are narratives. So it's kind of like how something has happened, what has led to something, kind of like cause, I guess, but more history, if that makes sense, like how it's gotten to here, I guess. Yeah, narratives of like how the past has led to the present, I suppose. And then in this one, the effects are stories. So you'll kind of give like two narratives of causes, and then you would go into like emotional stories and then give the solutions. And then just real quick, we're going to go through the structure of main points and subpoints. So there are 3 main points in every speech. So for example, in one of the info structures, it would be thing, assertion, implication. And then each of the main points has 2 subpoints. So from thing, there would be thing 1, thing 2. And then this is right here is kind of how you structure your main point and subpoint. So each main point starts with a signpost, which is like a mini roadmap. So it won't be 3 things. It'll typically be the 2 because you're going to talk about 2 things. So just tell your audience what you're going to be talking about in your main point. This can also be called like a topic sentence. And then you'll have your 2 subpoints, and each subpoint has ACE. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that's also what we use in WAP class. But it stands for answer, cite, explain, or expand. And so answer is kind of like a mini thesis, so your claim and why. And then cite is your sources. And you're going to want around 3 sources for every main point. So you can divide those between your 2 subpoints. And then explain, which can also be expand. Really just, that's where you can put all of your knowledge about this topic into your explanation and kind of mix in your sources with that as best as you can to support what you're saying. So yeah, that's everything about structure. A few action items if you want to practice. These are totally, you don't have to do these, they're optional, but they can be helpful. So first, watch an info or an OO on YouTube and try to fill in an outline for it. This is called flowing it, and this can just be good practice for you to start understanding where the different parts of a speech are located. If you want to go even more specific, you could try to identify the parts of an introduction. Oh, there we go. Okay, so on the next slide, I put my introduction from my OO this year. It's obviously, or not obviously, I still need to edit it a little bit, so this isn't the finished product, but this can help you kind of get some practice at locating all of the different parts of an introduction and just an example of what they all look like. And then finally, but only once you have your topic and have completed the majority of your research, if not all of it, then you can start filling in an outline for your speech. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, then always email or text me or Zoe or any of the other officers, and we will be glad to help you. So yeah, bye.